Good morning, good morning. It's great to stay up late. Good morning to you. Hey, you guys, how are you all doing? I'm doing a lot better than I was yesterday. My God, all that blood. But enough about my oncoming exsanguination. Let's talk about the wonders of day 26 of hashtag my 30-day world. What is my 30-day world? It is the marketing push made by the lovely people at Absolute Tabletop. The goal is 30 questions, 30 days, one a day. Answer it any way you want. Video, audio, interpretive dance, astral projection. The field is open to you guys. Do as you wish, and I encourage everybody who's actually listening in on this, take part. Do it. Give me your own opinion. If you just want to answer the question today, put it down in the comments. It's up to you guys. You're all free. The preamble now being under 1 minute, I can slow down a bit, and I can put down what the question is for today. For today, the 14th of April, what deities dwell in your realm? Are they involved? Now, the wonders of religion sits endemically tying itself into the world of Talum throughout everything. It really is something that is incredibly important for the residents of the land. The great cacophony of civil unrest, storms, and just simple difficulty of peasants tilling the land or making some kind of profit in a feudal system exerts immense pressure on the people of the world. A lot of them resort to any number of ways to relieving that pressure. And while it isn't the most societally acceptable response, it is the most common to indulge deeply into what people would recognize as a deep or very observant religious life. Now, before I go on, I want to talk a little bit about how I, as a game master, perceive religions and how I've kind of treated them up to this point. Generally speaking, religion spends very, very little time in my mind when I'm thinking about my games. This is because, in my opinion, there's not really much in the way of a theming or a worldview that can be constructed outside of the utility of what a cleric is. I feel this way because, very simply, it's how the players have treated it. Nobody is spending that much time trying to be obeisant to the ideals of Melora or a Monitor or anybody like that in the world of Talum. They're much more interested into the magical abilities that are accrued from obeying these kind of deities. And this actually kind of got me on to wondering about how the people of the world would feel in relation to having such a disastrous world and yet seemingly uninterested gods who only seem to pick and choose who they actually give their blessings to. So I played it back and forth, doing the different things, kind of mixing and matching and doing little bits of experimentation. It was only really when we had the event of the Maw of the Ocean that I've spoken about on some of the previous days that I kind of came to realize something that I thought was at least interesting, if not very apt to a feudal world. Basically, it's a free-for-all, but not really a free-for-all for the players. Now, what do I mean by that? Generally speaking, the Dungeons & Dragons system has this very weird religious disconnect in which there are gods and goddesses who can reach out and help out the people who are devout to them, yeah? But there are also people who are devout to them that do not receive any of these blessings. Now, why is this? Different worlds have different things. Faerun, basically, there's a very Machiavellian mercenary kind of perception. For instance, the goddess of magic, Mistra, is only particularly interested in helping people who can somehow advance her domain and portfolio. Similarly, Lolth is uninterested in anybody who cannot make Menzoberranzan or any of the places that officially worship her into the most chaotic and most constructive to her means, which is obviously disastrous effects on the Upside Elves or Corellin Lathander or any of the other elven deities that she's in the bad books of. With all of that in mind, and add in the sheer terrifying uncertainty of the world, you would be much more interested in putting the effort of your worship into a deity that seems to be more interested in helping you. As a direct result of that, the religions of Talum are on a continuous state of flux, of change, and of real sectarian violence. How this flux, this cycle works, is to ostensibly begin in a position where there is a religion at the top level. Now, generally speaking, this isn't to say that they are the only religion in the land, just that it is the one that the society as a whole is kind of giving its worship to. Let's actually give an idea to this. Let's say that it is a dwarf martyr spirit who holds the concepts of family, hearth, and home at the highest. The religion of worship to this deity, who for the sake of ease we'll call Brister, the beardless, is the main person. This is the one on top. This is what the people put to observance in regards to trade deals, marriages, funerals, these kind of things. The major things that are done by the society at large. Now, something bad happens, for whatever reason. It doesn't have to be supernatural in nature, it just has to be a bad thing that happens. Let us say that a pack of predators are attacking the bovine livestock of some rural town or rural home. Now let's assume that the societal bounds of things are not all the way there. This town doesn't have a reeve. It doesn't have any kind of defensive guard. Its closest guard would be far away or something to that effect. With no other recourse, wouldn't it be that you would turn to the worship of Brister, your deity, your patron, the person whose religion you put so much towards in relation to tributes and tithes, in order to intercede on your behalf, protecting your livestock, protecting your home and livelihoods? Now, in most fantasy worlds, a selection of three things will happen at this point. First, the deity does intercede. The skies open, lightning strikes down the beast, and everybody's happy and they've got some predator meat for dinner, or something to that effect. The second thing is that Brister doesn't do anything. For some reason, Brister has a grander plan for people to not be safe, or something to that effect. Nobody's really sure. It's at this point that we can also look at the third position, which is, as I said, Brister is not the only deity of this land. Brister has a rival called Byron the Dragon Slayer, another ancestor deity, another martyr, somebody who has come to be worshipped through their mortal deeds. But this one is much more aggressive, much more active, and one that in this situation seems to be much more able to deal with this problem, to be the main protector of this small culture. Now, considering the difficulties of the world and how betting on the wrong horse, so to speak, will kill you if you're not careful, very, very quickly it comes out that in this circumstance, Brister's worship will slowly fall away, the tithes will slowly dry up, and the Dragon Slayer will become the one on top. Now, something that I want to make very, very clear is by no means are people somehow not as faithful to these deities than they would be at any other time. This is just that pantheism is kind of treated in this way. You go to different people for different things, and in extremis, you do worship certain deities above other deities. The present-day Dungeons & Dragons conception of there is a cleric of Sehanine, and there are obeyers of Sehanine, and there is a church of Sehanine, and they just do this kind of thing. It's kind of a very interesting and yet not really the case type thing. It's much closer to a sectarian depiction of Christianity or any of the Abrahamic religions rather than paganism or pantheism. Add into it the amount of immigration that occurs, basically including the cultural basis of the different religions in and squashing them and slamming them into each other. As a result, Brister the Beardless not only has a rival who is dealing with another set of problems, he has rivals that are actually in the same portfolio or domain or whatever you wish to call it. There's somebody muscling in on his turf. And that would happen to be Meganax the Eye. This deity, as opposed to Brister, is the hearth, is the warmth of home, is the love of family. As opposed to Brister, who is kind of just an embodiment of it, this deity is family. Added into it that your new patron position, Byron, really, really likes Meganax, and Brister turns from a less beloved to a greatly disliked deity who'd taken steps to not only not help, but possibly even brought the beast on them. And so this cycle repeats. At some point, rather than a beast occurring, some kind of drought will occur. Crops will die. Livestock will just fall fallow and will not calf. Maybe a fire, or even just a particularly bad storm will occur. And suddenly, Byron doesn't cut it anymore, and neither does Meganax. And some other creature will have to come in to help. In some cases, Habintava, the Great Cloak. Now, something to keep in mind is that by no means have I put down these names as being like these are the be-all and end-all. What's actually happening is how anthropologists perceive the creation of religion. Religions are made as a result of two things. You need something, or something is happening that you do not understand. The second question will actually be dealt with the next video that I'm going to release today. But this one is going to concern itself with we want something. And what people want is very, very similar from place to place. I want to eat, I want to sleep, I want to have lots of kids, and I don't want to die. The deities may change, they may be completely different, but the needs, the underlying reasonings for why worship occurs, almost never really changes. And in fact, I would go so far as to make a grand generalization and say it just doesn't. Now that's our world. What about fantasy worlds? Generally speaking, people use the possibility of the fantasy world of make-believe and imagination to simply just say, yeah, the gods exist. They are present. Your worship is not going into an annihilative hole. It's not being useless and worthless. I really feel reticent about doing that because it actually brings up, in my opinion, more problems than it's particularly worth. For instance, the concept of determinism, like how, if you're supposed to be the chosen member of a deitic cult or something like that, how are you supposed to be free? Are you free? And we kind of get into that. And really, those themes do not sit well in the world of Talum, where ostensibly you are supposed to be free, and your constraints are not as a result of some kind of sense of order, but a sense of disorder. But yet again, we're kind of getting back outside into next video. So to bring up the final section of that, are the deities involved? Well, the question would be, are the deities real? And actually, I leave Talum to be very, very unknowable in regards to whether or not deities are real. For instance, I've said multiple times that magic and magic users are very generically recognized. A magic user could very easily be a charlatan, or someone of especially good intelligence, or someone who straight up uses magical powers. In that sense, it could very easily be that rather than attributing it to magic, you're attributing it to the blessings of a deity. And at that point, it becomes very muddy. Are they receiving it from a deity? Are all people receiving magic from a deity? We don't know. And that's going to be a really big question. At the moment, we have a player character who seemingly does receive magic from a deity. And I don't think even she realizes it, but it is a very, very important thing that it's kind of a very vague idea whether or not her powers come from herself, from the world, nature, or from the deity her family is supposed to be the patron and direct descendant of. And there we are, and there we have it. I hope you all enjoyed this. I really had a lot of fun talking about this. As you can kind of see from the video itself, this is a kind of thing that at the beginning I hadn't really thought about at all. And it was a very, very big growth experience for me, really thinking about it and incorporating things that I find really interesting about how religions form here in our world and applying it to mine. I really enjoyed reading some of your comments. There have been lots of constructive criticism, and I actually am going to be taking some steps from those comments about what to do with my backgrounds and stuff like that. I'm having a bit of trouble with the video stuff in regards to actually what to put up there. I'd like your opinions, guys. Would you like to see kind of more of the creation stuff where I'm making things? Or would you rather a fully constructed kind of like video slideshow type thing? I really wonder what you guys feel about it. And really, thank you very much for listening in, and I'll see you on the next time. Ciao!